So as many of you know, this summer marks the 30th anniversary of my graduation from high school. It also is the anniversary of 30 years since my buddy Jason Mandel and I took a rather unexpected journey to Alaska to work on a boat. And actually we picked it up in the state of Washington, in a little town called Westport on the western coast. We took that boat up through Puget Sound, that area, into the Inside Passage, up the coast of Canada and the southern edge of Alaska, finally crossing the Gulf, wrapping around the Kenai Peninsula until we came into Anchorage. So 30 years ago this summer, I came to Anchorage for the first time working on a boat. And here I am 30 years later in Anchorage for the second time, this time attending a work conference with my current employer. So I've had the benefit of coming to Alaska twice now on somebody else's dime, which is kind of great, and getting paid for the trip. But what's cool is, my 30th high school reunion is this coming week, and I'm going to be reminiscing with a bunch of my friends from high school about that time. And because of this trip, I've had the opportunity to reminisce on what is one of the great adventures of my life, working on a boat with no experience prior to working on a boat, and coming up to Alaska to work for the summer. It was an incredible experience. It was something that, you hear the term, it was life-changing. People say that a lot, and I think sometimes it's overused, but in this case, it is absolutely true. My trip to Alaska was life-changing. It instilled in me this belief that I can do anything if I say yes. There were lots of reasons to say no to that trip. I'd never been to Alaska before. I'd never really traveled to any great extent without my parents in tow, or the rest of my family. And that trip was terrifying. It was exhilarating. And in the end, it was a life lesson kind of trip that allowed me to learn a bunch of lessons that I can do more than I think I can. And I can excel at things that I put my mind to. And it taught me that the world is much more than just an office job, much more than just going to university, that there are lessons to be learned everywhere you go. Every person you encounter has a lesson that they can teach you. I learned so much about life from the 35 days or something that we spent on the boat, from our skipper. And when we first got on the ship, Jason and I were terrified of this man. He was surly, he was, salt of the earth, naval guy, and he had an air of unapproachability. He had an air of like, who the hell are these two city kids on my boat? And it was something to come on board as a greenhorn and not know anything. We had to be taught everything, even terminology, like it's not a rope, it's a line. It's little things like that we had to learn. And we learned it, literally on the job in a situation that was life-threatening. Like if we didn't do our jobs well, there was the risk of the boat sinking. And that was a whole new experience to suddenly have that kind of responsibility, real life-threatening responsibility placed on my shoulders. And like I said, it was terrifying at first. But over the course of that journey, I came to learn that things that are terrifying are just things that you don't know yet. And if you open yourself to the experience, you open yourself to the lessons that can be learned, you can achieve great things and you can grow, not just from this is what I can do as a job standpoint, but also from just the point being a human being going through experiences in the world. I traveled a bit as a kid, and so I knew that there was more than just the state of California, but to come to Alaska and see the majestic landscapes, the incredible natural wildlife, crazy things like the tides going 40 feet up and 40 feet out. Like when we came into Anchorage, we had to wait for the tide to roll in so that we could even get to the docks. It's not something that you're familiar with growing up down south. And when you start thinking about everything from like politics to racism to all of the different things that affect our lives in one way or another, so much of it can be more understood. You can have, I think, a wider and deeper understanding of opposing points of views if you take journeys, if you branch out. And I'm not talking about, I flew into the airport and I flew out kind of journey. Like coming to Alaska was a immersive experience. It was an opportunity to spend real time with working people who, get the oil down to take care of our cars, who fish the crab that, we enjoy eating during crab season. These are the people that make the world work and make the world run. And by and large, they have a very, very different life experience from the rest of us who live down in the southern areas of the world, where our daylight doesn't last 20 hours through the day and our nights in the winter don't last 20 hours through. That really changes somebody's life experience, and it changes fundamentally how they see the world, how they behave. And the more we can kind of come to understand those differences or be open to the fact that we don't all see the world the same way, we don't experience the world the same way, I think it can do a lot to help us heal a lot of the issues in the world if more of us took the time to find the chance to be immersive in a journey somewhere and open our minds, open our hearts to this idea that there's more than one way to live life. There's more than one way to experience your spirituality. There's more than one way to experience walking through this planet. And here I am in Alaska, and I'm going to finally turn all the way around here so you can see the mountains in the distance. And behind me there are the docks. And 30 years ago, this is where I came into Anchorage and finished a journey that fundamentally changed my life. For those of you who know much about me, you know that I spent my adult life working in fields that allowed me to travel, accepting jobs that I know some friends, some family would say the job was beneath me, like driving trucks around the country. I don't view anything that way. I don't view those blue collar jobs as being something beneath me. It doesn't matter if I'm university educated, doesn't matter if I'm capable of doing incredibly technical things. I believe that there is no work that's beneath anybody. We can open our minds broader than that and understand that the paycheck is only part of what we get from our work. There's satisfaction that comes from accomplishing the task. There's satisfaction that comes from the journey involved. By accepting the ability to drive trucks for years, I was able to travel all over the United States and experience almost every state, and spend decent time in each of those places, because on the drives I was able to not just drive from point A to point B, but I was able to slow down, take my time, spend time in various places, eat at the local eateries, get to know the people a little bit, talk to people, and it's really changed a lot of my life. And a lot of that started here and taking this journey here. And when I took the journey in 2011, where I volunteered on sailboats for the year and traveled across the country on the train and got to meet people on the train and talk to them on the train about their journeys. And while I was sailing, I was staying with people who lived on their boats. That gave me the opportunity to talk to them about their experiences sailing around the world or just living on their boats, like in Lake Michigan, and how different their view of the world is, how different their experience is. It all started here with that impulsive trip to Alaska with my buddy Jason completely changed everything. It was a life-altering experience for me. Prior to that, I really wasn't sure what I was going to do with my life, and that was scary. But by the time we left here and made our way back to California, I wasn't scared of my life anymore. I was excited to go on the journey. I was excited to see what would happen with my life as I went. And my life has not turned out any way, shape, or form like what I imagined it would, but it's bigger and more exciting and more interesting than I ever could have written it out for myself to be. The experiences I've had, the things that I've gotten to do, it's been an incredible life so far. It's been challenging, it's been difficult, it's been exhilarating, it's been awe-inspiring, it's been spiritually awakening, everything that you want life to be. I've lived it, I've experienced it, I've been open to every experience. I continue to be open to every experience. And I'm in a new phase of my life right now where I'm moving into marketing for healthcare and working at a healthcare organization where I'm really proud to be a part of a team that's working towards trying to improve the lives of Native Americans. And it's an office job, which is something I've kind of run from most of my life, obviously. But it's exhilarating, and it was terrifying to take on because it was so different from everything I've done up to this point. And I am older now, and I am slowing down, and I have needed, in the end, a lot of the healthcare that's become available to me because of this job. So again, I'm in the right place at the right time. But I'm helping people or doing work that helps people, and that is fundamentally one of the things that I learned coming up here, is that the people are what make life worth living and what make life interesting. And we have to take care of the people, we have to take care of the world that we live in. And here I am 30 years later, kind of reminding myself of that journey that I've been on, that started here, and that I'm continuing to live by and grow with. And I hope that you take the time to be open, take the time to evaluate how you live your life, how you view the world, and how you think other people may view the world, and question whether or not they see the world like you do. And if they don't, maybe try and understand their point of view as well. So, yeah, there we go. Thanks for joining me on this little discussion, and bless you all.